What's going on, everybody? Welcome into another game day update. Today, the Grizzlies will take on the Portland Trailblazers. So joining me from Portland is the host and sideline reporter for the Blazers, Brooke Olzendam. Thank you for coming on again, Brooke.
It's a tradition with you and me, of course. You don't even have to ask. I just already am prepared every time that we play each other. I'm like, when is she going to text me? When is she going to call me and ask me to do this? And then, so the first time you don't, I'll be hurt. Let's just say that.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. No, you're perfect. Standing. Okay. Let's talk about the game then. This is going to be a good game. I think the two big storylines, at least from my end, are Dame is 2 for 24. Everyone's been talking about it from beyond the arc in, this season, regular season, first 3 games. And Ja Morant is mad. So it's going to be the battle of what point guard is going to snap out of this, I think, and have themselves a good night.
I got to tell you, I felt so bad for Ja last game. I mean, I think the whole world did when he said, what did he say? It's on me or my bad, my fault. You just feel for it because you've all been in that position at some point if you played sports or in any sort of aspect of your life where you feel like you let a group of people down. And it was one of those moments where I'm like, oh, I just want to hug a guy, because we've all been there. But so yes, I get what you're saying. That can turn into madness, which is good for you guys. But on the flip side for Dame, we talked about this yesterday at practice, that it's just so uncharacteristic for one of the greatest shooters, of all time. And he's not really that concerned. He's like, this has happened to me a few times. He's like, actually, this has happened to me a couple of times at the beginning of the season where, I'm just kind of getting back into it. He feels he's playing really well. He said, I'm playing really good basketball. And he's had great assist numbers. He's like, they're just not falling. And that's not something that, I foresee continuing to happen. That's just not how he plays. He puts in so much work over the off season, every single off season, to work on his shot. You guys saw last year in the bubble and the year before, he's worked on his range. I mean, shooting from the logo. So there's always some sort of aspect he's adding to his game. And so he's not concerned. We talked to Chauncey about it, head coach Chauncey Billups, and he said, I remember when I played, it was always 2 times a year. I would just go through some sort of shooting slump where I couldn't put my finger on it. It wasn't like there was, nagging injury. It was it just happens to you, the best of them. So there's not a ton of concern with that. It's actually kind of funny because coach is like, I actually prefer that in terms of maybe him not focusing on the new offense. And he's like, I think it's almost a byproduct of everyone's taking in these new things as a whole, because, new guys coming in, the returners returning, but a whole new coaching staff. So he said, I'm watching Dame out there and he's really focused on the new offense and running that. And so I appreciate that. And so if, his shot right now isn't falling, that's not something that's going to be consistent. So I appreciate that he's focused so much on running the show the way that we have planned it. And then, the shot's not falling, but that will come. So not a ton of concern. It's just so unlike him. And Dame's, he's unwavered. You can't really rattle him.
I think that's so interesting because I think that speaks a lot to, one, his leadership, like you just mentioned, running the new offense and stuff. And 2, just like how veteran he is. He's like, I've been here. It'll be fine. We'll be okay. The shots will fall.
Yeah, I know. We call him the greatest leader in sports. And of course we're biased, but that's what, Lamar, who's our analyst, says it all the time. He's the greatest leader in sports because of that. He's looking for his teammates. If his shot isn't falling, he'll still look for a shot. He's not going to not shoot. We know him, but he's, looking for his teammates and running the offense and supporting the heck out of them. And, he's just, like you mentioned, just such a great leader. And the young guys are just asking questions left and right. Anthony Simons has been a big story for us this year as a backup point guard, really getting more minutes and being the guy in the second unit. Before he had said he was kind of confused on what his role was. And now it's like, Chauncey's really challenging me. Like, this is you have to be vocal. You have to go out there and lead that second unit and take some little load off Dame. And he's been really one of our big storylines so far this season and preseason. He's been really great in the backup point guard position with the second unit.
Perfect. Okay. We talked point guard. Let's go the exact opposite now to the bigs. I found a cool stat online when it was Nurkic versus Steven Adams, who you guys have not seen in a Grizzlies jersey quite yet, but those two have matched up 14 times in their careers. Nurkic has not scored more than 15, or he scored 15 only 5 of those times. And I think people always think like Ja Dame, that's the matchup, but I think this matchup of the bigs is going to be really exciting to watch as well. They're both just like big bruiser guys who just want to battle down low. So I think that's another matchup to watch between the Grizzlies and the Blazers.
I agree. And exciting, exciting those two down there because both emotional players, and not necessarily, I don't say that in a negative way. I say that in a positive way. They, feed off their own energy. And Nurk, I'll say this with our new defense too. The Blazers have implemented a totally new defense and it really focuses on Nurk. And I mean, he's the anchor of the D. So with him, when he starts playing great defense, getting in blocks, getting stops, getting steals, that energizes him. And then you see that on the offensive end. So I think if we can see, and he's got to stay out of foul trouble, which he knows, we talk about all the time. So he's really been working on finishing strong because like you mentioned, they're big bruisers. They're these huge guys down there. And sometimes, he works to get position and then it's kind of like a little, limp little, he's not as focused on the finish as, he would like to be. And we talked about that too. I would say this, and if Nurk was standing here, he'd say the same thing. He's like, I know I need to finish stronger. So if he can get going defensively, maybe get some stops on Steven Adams, that would really, like I said, help him on the other side. But Steven Adams, man, that guy, I've always been impressed with his game. And so, he'll bring it as well. So it could get feisty down there, which I'm always here for the feistiness. So I know, I love it. I love it when there's a little extra, a little extra on it. So
yeah, there was a little feistiness in the Jazz, was it Jazz Nuggets game yesterday? And I was just watching the TV like, what do we have going on?
No, sometimes, I'm watching my Bravo shows, my, Real Housewives. I'm like, this is great. And then I'll turn on an NBA game. I'm like, oh, this is even better. You never know what you're going to get, like when guys bring it and when they're feisty, I love it. The drama, I love it all. You never know on live sports,
Plus, I think there's like a little bit of somewhat of a rivalry between these two teams because they've been kind of like this in the playoffs the last few years. And so they've been like clawing for spots and we've played each other so many times now. I feel like there's a little bit of like like we have to beat Portland tonight and like we have to beat the Grizzlies tonight.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. You have those teams where you're like, gosh, I feel like we play them all the time. And Memphis would definitely be one of them. So yes, I will say this for our group coming off of a really rough loss against the Clippers, like one where the effort, they said it when they didn't bring it. Coach said it was embarrassing, 30 turnovers, which is so uncharacteristic of this team. They usually take great care of the ball. It was just one of those, I don't want to, make excuses, but it was super off night for everybody. And, we mentioned Dame shooting. He was 0 from the 3-point line and guys, were just kind of loosey-goosey with the ball and just didn't come prepared is what Coach Chauncey Billups said. So that is, you got to have a fresh slate, but at the same time, you remember that feeling. They remember that a couple of nights ago and they're going to want to bounce back, especially at home. So there is a little bit extra coming from them tonight to prove that, that game 2 wasn't a fluke, that big win over Phoenix. That is the team that we are. That wasn't the team that you saw against the Clippers. And so I have a feeling that they're going to really try to replicate what we saw in game 2, which was a fantastic from beginning to end win and everyone was involved. So they have a little sour taste in their mouth from the Clippers. So I think they'll be ready to play tonight.
Yeah. And from talking from our guys, it sounds like this, I know it sounds like crazy to say, but this entire season, they're looking to prove that what they did last season wasn't a fluke. Sure. So it's going to be a good game tonight. It tips off at 9:00 Memphis time. It'll be on Valley Sports Southeast. And then you can catch Brooke, not on Valley Sports, but she'll be on Root Sports and it starts 7 p.m. for you.
Yes, correct.
Like doing the time zones in my head. 7 p.m.
I'm so time zone challenged. Never ask me. I mean, I can tell you where I'm at when I'm at home, but on the road, I'm lost cause. So I will tell you it's at 7 here, and that's all I can say.
There we go. Thank you so much, Brooke. I can't wait to see you. I can't wait to watch you guys. It's going to be such a good game. So thank you so much for previewing it with me.
Always. Thanks for having me.